About 30 minutes ago, these two aircraft flying piggyback, locked together, took off from Edwards Air Force Base to make a little bit of aviation history. Perhaps this mission is not as exciting as putting a man on the moon, but potentially it's more important. It's one step toward creating a fleet of reusable vehicles that will make frequent round trips into space.
160 chase.
What you're seeing right now, high above California's Mojave Desert, is a space-age marriage of convenience. A space shuttle mated to a jumbo jet, but not for long. And here's where the drama of the mission becomes apparent. In about 15 minutes, with two astronauts in the cockpit, the shuttle will blast free from its perch atop the 747 and will fly on its own and land on its own for the very first time. The Enterprise is part rocket ship and part glider. Soon it will be capable of rocketing into space, but won't today. Today it will glide 33 miles to its touchdown at a point directly behind us, about a mile away or less. We said glide, and glide it will. There are no engines on board the Enterprise. It is a 150,000-pound glider. It will have one chance at a safe landing, and only one chance.
This is a CBS News special report. Space Shuttle, the first voyage. This portion is sponsored by Polaroid's SX70 system for sharp, clear, instant color.
Polaroid's SX70 Alpha 1, the only camera of its kind in the world. Focus and frame. Close-ups, time exposures, backlight. The SX70 system will work out virtually any picture you want automatically. Sharp, clear SX70 colors come up in minutes, and the picture you want is yours. Polaroid's SX70, the only folding single-lens reflex camera in the world.
They look real cool, that old-fashioned bathing suit, Grandpa.
I'd feel cooler with some good old-fashioned lemonade.
Country time, Grandpa?
Country time.
Country time lemonade flavored drink mix, eh?
Natural lemon flavor.
Not too tart, not too sweet.
That's the taste of good old-fashioned lemonade.
Well, you ought to know.
Country time. Tastes like that good old-fashioned lemonade.
Here again is Morton Dean.
Good morning, and it is a beautiful morning out here on the Mojave Desert where Edwards Air Force Base is located. The searing desert temperatures have not arrived as yet. It's about 80 degrees. There are some puffy and stretched out clouds in the sky, but nothing that will or is expected to obliterate our view or is expected to endanger this flight in any way. Let's take a look right now at an artist's conception of what we'll be seeing in real life in just a few minutes from now. This is what the separation is expected to look like. The shuttle on top of the 747 flying at about 21,700 feet and popping off the top of the 747 like a cork popping out of a bottle of champagne. The 747 will roll left and down, and the shuttle will roll to the right as the two spacecraft, or aircraft rather, try to separate and get out of each other's way. With me today is a familiar face to all of you, I'm sure. Leo Krupp has been an advisor to CBS News ever since the beginning of manned space flight. And Leo, that may make you sound a bit old, but it's been a short season and we were all around back then. And Leo has also been around since the beginning of tests and when first they began to analyze this space shuttle. He's a research pilot for Rockwell International, the people who have constructed this shuttle. And I bet, Leo, you've been in simulators on simulated flights as often as the astronauts have. And my question is, some people say this shuttle will fly like a rock, and others say it's going to fly something like a DC-9. What's your view?
It's going to fly like a conventional airplane, Martin. We look forward to a very successful flight, and should be no problem at all. The airplane should come down in good control just like an airliner, and he should make a good landing in his program landing touchdown area.
I think we ought to remind our audience there are, or will be, 51 engines on board when the shuttle goes into space. It is not going into space today, and it has no engines. It is flying like a glider. The shuttle is called the Enterprise, and it's named after the spaceship on that popular television show Star Trek. in the Enterprise today, there are two astronauts, not Captain Kirk or Mr. Spock, but Fred Hayes and Gordon Fullerton. Both are experienced test pilots. Fullerton hasn't been in space before, but Hayes has been there aboard the trouble-plagued Apollo, which didn't make it to the moon and almost didn't make it back to Earth. Richard Wagner takes a look at what the astronauts did earlier this morning and at some of the things that are going on here today at Edwards Air Force Base.
The early morning activities of astronauts have become as familiar to us as the rituals of actors preparing for the first curtain. Fred Hayes and Gordon Fullerton did not disappoint the groundlings this morning. As always, there was the obligatory breakfast before the cameras. It seems to comfort us that our spacemen go about their lofty calling undisturbed by the pangs of hunger. After the juice, steak and eggs, and coffee, the astronauts moved on to scene 2, shaking hands and waving in the pre-dawn darkness before proceeding on to the Enterprise. The improbable combination has proven it can fly in the mated configuration. Hayes and Fullerton, hard-hatted against any last-minute unprogrammed incident, climbed up toward their orbiter to find out if it can fly as well alone. Shortly thereafter, as the sun came up, some of the thousands of spectators, many of whom spent the night here, got themselves ready to watch the flight. They're being kept a couple of miles away from the flight line, but a variety of optical aids among the spectators should assure them a good view of the proceedings. Looking directly into the morning sun, however, won't help. A better view will be had by an assortment of celebrities clustered in tents down by the runway where the Enterprise is to set down. There are singers, actors, and a variety of politicians, among them California's Governor Jerry Brown. Brown, asked if his recent espousal of the space program didn't mark an end to his espousal of the era of limits, didn't think so.
No, it's marking an evolution of the era of limits. The planet is limited, and that's why it's so important that we expand beyond.
The Space Shuttle Enterprise is, of course, named for the Starship Enterprise in the television series Star Trek. Dedicated Trekkies among the spectators here kept looking for Mr. Spock or Captain Kirk. But if they're here, they're keeping a low profile. Richard Wagner, CBS News, Edwards Air Force Base.
And those are the airplanes. That's the shuttle sitting atop the 747. The 150,000-pound shuttle will lift off from that 747 in approximately 8 minutes from now. There are 2 men on board the Enterprise, and the 747 is a crew of 4. All are wearing parachutes and oxygen masks for this very first special flight, the first time that the shuttle will fly free. Our coverage of the first voyage of Enterprise will continue in a moment.
It's here, the simplest camera ever invented. Not yet. Polaroid's new one step, because you never focus. The only thing you touch is one button. Now. The motor hands you the picture, and the SX70 color develops in minutes. Polaroid's new little one step. You never focus. All you touch is the button. It's only $39.95, motor and all. Remember our first kiss?
On my parents' front porch.
You, me, the moonlight, and your dad.
Even if you wear dentures, keep every kiss special like the first with today's anti-odor Polident. Polident's exclusive formula contains 2 hard-working cleaning actions. Chemical action to help power away even tough stains, plus physical action to fight odor-causing film. 2 hard-working cleaning actions in anti-odor Polident.
Coast is clear.
Polident. We want you to stay close.
Right in the camera. Hey there, Bright Eyes. Maybe you needed Nitol last night. Maybe you had trouble falling asleep. Well, that's what Nitol's all about. On those occasional nights when you do have trouble, Nitol can help make you drowsy so you can fall asleep. Come on, America. Stop yawning. For occasional sleeplessness, remember, Nitol.
Simplest camera ever invented. Polaroid's new one step. You don't have to focus or anything here.
I'm not very good at this.
It's just one step. Point it and press the button.
That's 2 steps.
We don't count the pointing. The motor hands you the picture. The SX70 color develops in minutes. And And it's only $39.95.
It's beautiful, but I still think pointing's a step.
Well, it isn't.
Well, it should be.
We don't count it.
You should.
We're just about 5.5 minutes away from separation, and everything is going according to plan. Everything looks just beautiful here at Edwards Air Force Base and over the Air Force Base. This is a rather unusual picture for us. We've seen this combination fly on 3 previous occasions, but as we said earlier, this will be the first time that the shuttle will fly free. But piggyback aircraft have been seen before. In World War I, the British tried to stop the German Zeppelins with a piggyback aircraft. In World War II, the Germans tried to stop the Allies. France and the Soviet Union have experience with piggyback aircraft, and the United States had a piggy belly aircraft a few years ago with the carrying of another aircraft in the belly or bomb bay of an airplane, but nothing quite like this, nothing as large, nor carrying anything that was intended to go into space. Well, we've been talking about the past, and we've been reporting on what the shuttle is doing today and will be doing this morning. And now Steve Young reports about what the shuttle is expected to do in the not-too-distant future.
The space shuttle will be launched from the Kennedy Space Center by 3 rockets beefed up by 2 larger ones strapped to its side. When their fuel is burned up, the big rockets will be parachuted back for reuse. Shuttle will continue its powered flight using the 3 smaller engines. Before it reaches orbit, the belly fuel tank will be cast away and will burn up in its fall back to Earth, the only major part that doesn't get recycled. At this point, Shuttle looks like an airplane, but in space, its wings have no function. There's no air hundreds of miles above Earth, so it will be flown like a spacecraft. Most of the orbit changes will be controlled by small rocket thrusters, much like those in the Apollo lunar program. During the free flight drops from the 747 jetliner, the space shuttle flies at about 300 miles an hour. In space, Shuttle and its crew speed along at about 17,000 miles an hour. Comparing the cargo space in present rockets to the orbiter's big bay is like comparing a guppy with a whale. The hold is 60 feet long, 15 feet wide, big enough for a 65,000-pound payload, and all of it can be exposed to space by swinging open huge doors. Shuttle can perform many missions. It can carry aloft a manned space lab, bring up new satellites, and bring old ones back to Earth for repairs. The space agency says it expects each shuttle to provide versatility, low cost, and a lifetime of about 100 missions.
Leo Krupp, we're about 3 minutes away from that separation. What is Fred Hayes and Gordon Fullerton, too, in the shuttle going to feel when that shuttle suddenly lifts off from the 747?
Well, they'll feel an acceleration because they will get about a 3/4 of a G increase in acceleration. And also, Fred will be holding in a 2-degree nose-up pitch command, so the orbiter will start its pitch up, and as soon as he can, he'll roll right to make a good separation clearance so he can start pushing over and doing his flight test plan.
Leo, I think the other night you said it much more colorfully when we were talking at dinner when you said that it'll feel like getting hit in the rump with a baseball bat, and you even embellished a little bit on that. So there will be a jolt when they blast free.
They'll definitely feel a thump and an increase in acceleration.
Once it is free, it will fly about...
4-minute hack, 2, 1, mark.
Okay, that's about 4 minutes then to separation. Once the aircraft do separate, the shuttle has about a 33-mile-long course to run. It should take about 5 minutes and 10 seconds.
Pre-programmed pushover altitude.
Both of these pilots, Leo, have experienced flameouts on fighter aircraft in the past. A flameout meaning the engine has gone dead, and they have landed these high-speed aircraft as they will be landing this one today.
That's right. Well, most military pilots practice flameout approaches, so it's nothing new to land an airplane without any power on it. As long as you have sufficient energy and altitude and airspeed to make the runway, the airplane flies perfectly normal, and should be no problem at all with the flameout approach today, because throughout the entire profile, Fred's going to be in good position to make a safe landing on the lake bed from any place in his trajectory.
And he's got plenty of room. This is not your run-of-the-mill commercial or military airport here. The runway runs at least 7 miles long. The touchdown point is about 2.5 miles into the runway, so he's got 5 miles and then some out in front of him.
He's got plenty of underrun and plenty of overrun, and he can land crossways if he'd like, if necessary.
You know, Leo, the other night...
2 minutes, 41 seconds from
Pushover is that point at which the 747 and the shuttle will be at their maximum altitude. Then the 747 does push over into a dive so that it is diving at a -6-degree angle so that the shuttle sitting on top of the 747 is parallel to the ground. I think I've got that right, Leo.
The attitude is parallel to the ground. That's correct.
You know, you kept reminding me the other night of several things, and you said several times the brakes. This is the first time they are going to try the brakes.
That's right. Normally in an airplane, you do some taxi tests and braking tests before you fly it. But with the shuttle, this has not been possible. So today will be the first time that pushover -2. Today will be the first time that Fred has had a chance to really control the airplane during a rollout and do braking and nose wheel steering.
Houston, Mission Control. The control center that controlled our flights to the moon is controlling this mission. And you're hearing two voices from Houston. The capsule communicator, he still retains that name, even though there is no capsule in this space shuttle, is Bo Bobko, the United States Air Force, a colonel. He is an astronaut. And the other voice is the voice of Mission Control, Jack Riley.
Mort, this shot is coming from Chase 4, which is...
Stand by for pushover -1.
Chase 4 is flying about 1,000 feet off the right wing, so this is probably the best view in town of the separation.
And I think we ought to explain what chase means, Leo. There are a couple of T-38 planes up there, maybe as many as 5. I saw 3 take off earlier, and they are following this flight pattern all the way.
And Enterprise Houston is go for pushover.
Go for pushover. You're going to see a 747 dip its nose down.
Up to launch heading.
And after.
We should see a nice positive separation with a very rapid clearance of the 747's tail.
Okay, Enterprise is set. Thanks for the left bit.
You bet. About 38 seconds after pushover is achieved, separation will be achieved. Again, pushover is the high altitude, the highest altitude at which this configuration is flying. The 747.
We're coming up on 4 seconds to pushover.
Let's listen in.
2, 1, pushover. Houston copies pushover.
The 747 is now running into a dive. The shuttle should be parallel to the Earth.
Accelerating now, airspeed 205.
At 270, you'll do the SEP.
Altitude 27.
27,000 altitude. Separation comes at 21,700 feet, give or take a couple of feet.
2 lights, Houston is go for SEP. Have a great flight.
Go for separation. It has never flown free before. This is the very first time.
You'll hear a launch ready as soon as the conditions are right for separation.
Launch ready.
There it is, and there it goes.
Beautiful separation, nice and clear.
Beautiful separation. And it's clear. The chase plane.
Light, lots of sync on 2, pushing over. And a big X on computer number 2.
And it will roll to the right.
Roger, stand by and halt on GPC number 2.
This has never happened before. It is flying on its own.
203.
And Leo, they'll have a quick...
Flying good.
Flying good is the report.
They lost 1 computer in SEP, but this is not a problem. We have 4 computers for the primary flight control system.
Now at about 20,000 feet, they will...
Fred Hayes conducting a practice landing at altitude.
I was just going to say that, a practice landing at about 20,000 feet. In other words, they'll slow her down to their landing speed, which is about 185 knots, see how the shuttle feels to them, and then they'll pick up speed and come around. They're taking a race course, a race course course. I don't know whether that sounds right or not, but they're following a race course pattern, and they'll be heading due north for about 9.4 miles. Then they'll take a big arc to the west for about 9 miles, and then heading home, a 9.4-mile trip to touchdown just behind us here at Edwards Air Force Base.
Okay, 11 Alpha, pushing over.
Yeah, Fred has...
195 and 20,000.
Fred has 5 minutes to learn how to fly this airplane before he lands it.
That's right, 5 minutes to touchdown. It doesn't sound like so much, but it is when you're flying an aircraft for the very first time, Leo.
Enterprise Houston, we show perhaps a slightly low LOD.
What is LOD?
That means he's probably going to have to turn base a little bit earlier because he's not going to have quite as much energy as anticipated. So he'll turn base a little bit early. He'll still make the landing touchdown.
Enterprise, you're cleared to start the turn.
Starting his turn to base now.
Okay, he'll be making...
It's really tight, Bo. In fact, I think it's a little better than the old STA field. Great.
Fred Hayes is flying this aircraft. He is the commander, and he is in control.
Fullerton flying now.
Fred said it flies better than their training aircraft.
Well, that's good news. Kind of thing pilots like to know and hear.
Okay.
It's turning left. It'll make about a 180-degree arc, and then we'll be heading due south. Leo, when it comes in for a landing, it'll begin a descent.
48 minutes, 28 seconds past the hour.
It is descending now, and its rate of descent is about 4 times faster than that of your average commercial airliner, but nobody is too worried about that. A commercial airliner could land at this speed with no trouble at all.
Maybe a little high.
Fred doesn't agree with the ground analysis.
30% speed brakes. Okay. Board's coming open to 30.
They are high on energy, so he's opening his speed brakes a little bit sooner than normal to dissipate some of that excess energy he has.
Okay, the speed brakes open up because the shuttle is in a dive. The speed brakes will hold the speed back so that shuttle is averaging about 270 knots or 310 miles per hour.
Now they're going to 50% brakes. Normally they only go to 30 on this flight. But evidently he does have excess energy, so they're going to open to 50 to dissipate the energy, so the landing will be nominal.
Excess energy is a pilot's way of saying he's going too fast.
Too fast and too high.
Potential good. Enterprise, we show 8 miles out, 9 potential. We'll leave you here. Okay?
Okay, looking good.
About 2 minutes to the landing, about a minute and a half, rather.
280. Okay, why don't you use yours until we get a little arc?
Leo, the rate of speed right now, the rate of descent is about 4 times what a commercial airliner uses, and his speed is about 2.5 times as he approaches the runway. He'll land at about 185 knots or 212 miles per hour. A DC-9 would land at about 130 knots or 150 miles per hour, and it's looking beautiful. We should be able to eyeball it from our perch just beyond the runway here at Edwards Air Force Base.
Fido says it looks super.
It looks super.
I have him on the glasses, Mort, now.
Okay, we've got him. He's coming in. Should be about, what, 3,000 feet up there now, Leo?
Pre-flare.
Yeah, he's at...
Speed brake's coming in now.
He's at the pre-flare, so he's flaring now onto a...
Okay, the flare...
1.5-degree glide slope.
The flare will slow him down for the landing. A pre-flare, then will be a flare. That means he's lifting his nose up to slow the shuttle down.
Coming down at 270.
He looks beautiful.
Putting the gear down just a little bit fast, but he's got some excess energy.
Only the second time the gear has come down.
Gear looks good.
They are locked into place.
40 feet.
This has never been attempted.
20.
And
15,
it is
10. Holding 10.
just about
220 at about 5 feet. 4 feet. Getting some dust. 4 feet.
down,
3 feet.
down.
2 feet.
And it's down.
Just over off about 2
It's
feet.
down. It has landed.
You're on.
And it looks beautiful.
Okay, your nose wheel's about 10 feet.
It'll take about 30 seconds before it rolls to a halt. Leo, that was absolutely letter perfect from my view.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Nose gear down.
We'll see you, babe.
He now steers it with the rudder. Stays on the runway with the rudder. He's got his speed brakes are fully open.
Leo, in the event anybody's concerned about what appears as smoke on the screen, that's really sand. This lake bed does not have an artificial surface over it, and that is sand being picked up by the shuttle. The 5-minute and 10 or 20-second flight has been a success. The 2 astronauts have reported that they are okay, and the mission appears, at least from our point of view, to have been perfect, Leo.
Yeah, it was beautiful. He was a little bit fast and high, and he touched down a little higher further down the runway, but the touchdown was a very low sink rate.
Okay, Leo, let's just listen in. Perhaps we can hear from Fred Hayes or Gordon Fullerton, the two astronauts on board that shuttle. Guess they're not saying much.
They're going to roll out very gently. They're not going to brake to a sudden stop. They want to check out the nose wheel steering the last 60 knots of the velocity, so they'll take their time getting it stopped.
Leo Krupp, are you now satisfied those brakes worked?
Everything worked. It was beautiful.
Just the way you flew it in the simulator those many times.
He did inadvertently get a little high on energy, but other than that, the flight was perfectly nominal.
Just to repeat, the shuttle did not go into space today. This was the very first time it flew by itself. It was launched from atop a 747 jumbo jet at about 21,000 feet, flew 33 miles, took a bit over 5 minutes, and came into a safe landing here. There were no engines on board. It was a glider, acted like a glider, was flown like a glider, and was a successful glider.
Congratulations, it was a beautiful flight. We got about a quarter knot, and we just stopped.
Just came to a stop now.
Okay, Leo, and the next time we'll see this vehicle fly, we expect, will be in the last week of August. I think they have penciled in an August 30th date for the next free flight. And Leo, this successful flight did not answer two major questions: the controversy over whether the $6.9 billion shuttle project is worth it, and whether there will be a need for the hundreds of space flights necessary to amortize the cost, as NASA says there will. But the flight was never intended to answer those questions. It answered at least three others, though. Yes, the shuttle can fly like a glider. Yes, it can land like one. And yes, once the shuttle landed, the brakes, Leo, did work. Leo Krupp, thank you. This is Morton Dean and Leo Krupp at Edwards Air Force Base, California.
Breakfast! American children really have a lot. But according to the U.S. government, almost 50% of all the children in this country fail to get their recommended daily allowance of vitamin C. That's why I'm glad my children love the taste of Tang Instant Breakfast Drink. Each glass contains a full day's supply of vitamin C.
Sure tastes good after a night in the wilderness, Mom.
Look for Tang in the convenient new 9-quart canister.
It's here, the simplest camera you ever used. Polaroid's new One Step. The only thing you touch is the button. You never focus. Long shots, close shots, any shots. Just point it and press the button. The motor hands you SX70 pictures that develop in minutes, automatically. Polaroid's new One Step. You never focus, and it's only $39.95, motor and all. Take the One Step.
This portion was sponsored by Polaroid's One Step, the motor-driven instant camera you never focus. This has been a CBS News special report. Space Shuttle, the first voyage. This is CBS.